Hi students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is the sinking of the USS Maine. And here are your objectives. Please pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab terms and take some notes. You have probably heard the term fake news, and today we are going to look at how back in the year 1898, fake news got the US involved in a war. I won't be talking about it in this video, but fake news also got the US involved in a war in 2003 when I was in high school. And my message to you all from this video is, if newspapers are telling you that the US needs to go to war, you should definitely be critical. Alright, in the last video, you learned about the Cuban War for Independence from Spain. And as the fighting between Spain and the Cubans intensified, U.S. President William McKinley sent an American warship into Havana, which is a city in Cuba. And he did that in order to protect Americans and American businesses there. And the ship that he sent was this big ship, and it's called the USS Maine. So this was a ship that President McKinley put outside the harbor of Havana, Cuba, to protect Americans as the fighting intensified between Spain and the Cubans. And then on February 15th, 1898, the Maine exploded unexpectedly. And as you can see in this picture, the ship was completely destroyed. And 261 U.S. sailors and Marines died when the ship exploded. The explosion was a great opportunity for William Randolph Hearst and the other publishers of yellow journalism, even though an investigation later concluded that the Maine blew up because of an accidental fire in the magazine. The magazine is where the ship's missiles are stored. The newspapers were quick to say that the Spanish had planted a bomb and blown up the ship. Here are some headlines from Hearst's New York Journal. Destruction of the warship Maine was the work of an enemy. And this one says, Spanish treachery, crisis at hand. Why did these newspapers say that Spain was guilty if it wasn't true? One reason was yellow journalism. The lie was more exciting than the truth, and exciting headlines sell more papers. After all, what headline would you find more eye-catching? One that said, fire accidentally sinks ship? Or one that says, Spanish treachery? So that was one reason that Hearst might have lied about sinking of this ship, was just to sell more papers. A second reason was that Hearst supported imperialism, and he thought that if the U.S. could go to war with Spain, they might gain some new colonies. And for Hearst, new colonies meant new markets, places where he could sell even more newspapers. And Hearst's plan worked. The effect of all the exciting but fake headlines was a rise in something called jingoism. Jingoism means aggressive patriotism, and the keyword here is aggressive. So if patriotism means feeling pride in your country, jingoism means that you have pride in your country, but you want to attack other countries. As millions of Americans read the yellow journals, they felt so angry that they wanted to go to war with Spain. And a popular slogan started, remember the Maine, to hell with Spain. Try saying that. Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain. And 2 months after the explosion of the USS Maine, the US indeed declared war on Spain. And this war was called the Spanish-American War. Did you know that the US went to war with Spain? If you haven't heard of this war, it's probably because it didn't last very long. The US won quickly and easily. The war only lasted 2 months, and not many Americans died in battle. If you look at this graph, you can see that most of the deaths of soldiers actually came from disease, not from fighting. Most of the war happened in the Caribbean, and Americans weren't used to the tropical weather, so they got sick. Also, a lot of the meat that the soldiers ate was rotten because it had been made in the same factories that Upton Sinclair reported on in the jungle. So, as a result of U.S. victory in the Spanish-American War, the U.S. took over all the Spanish colonies